Goku has changed so much since his humble beginnings at the beginning of Dragon Ball. This video is detailing the biggest changes, and some of them may surprise you. Now, let's get into it. In a movie filled with special, jaw-dropping moments, there was one particular instance that hit all of us right in the feels. When Goku turned around and told Broly to call him Kakarot, Goku's Saiyan name, my heart suddenly felt like Vegeta had punched it. It felt like it was just sat on by Majin Buu. It was such an amazing moment in the context of the movie, but also does a great job in highlighting just how much Goku's feelings on his Saiyan heritage has changed. Remember back in his young days when he couldn't believe he was part of such a bloodthirsty race? Think of the guilt he harbored in his first battle with Vegeta and compare that to what Goku's mental state is now. It's taken years, but Goku has very organically grown more accepting of who he is and where he comes from. That's often incredibly hard for anyone to do, and to hear it from Goku warms my very core. That's why something as simple as him telling Broly to call him Kakarot can have such an emotional impact. Now, excuse me for a brief second, I have to go and rewatch that scene for the 1000th time. Kid Goku was cute, but let's be real. He's the last person you'd want to meet in a dark alley on a Saturday night. The little fellow may look innocent enough. I mean, he's got a tail. How can you not trust a person with a tail? But he was an explosive ball of fury that would take your life without giving it another thought. Just remember how Goku handled the Red Ribbon Army soldiers, or even King Piccolo. Poor King Piccolo. Sure, he was a bad guy, but little Goku literally punched a hole right through him. That's brutal. If I had to decide on one of the worst ways to have my life ended, having my chest torn open by a little kid would certainly be near the top. And if you compare this version of Goku to the adult version of the character, you see what a drastic change he's undergone. He no longer ends the lives of the villains he faces without hesitation. Sure, there are times when extreme force is the only way, but it's not something Goku goes out of his way to do. He certainly values life a little more, and we should all be happy for that. Think back to when you were a little kid and had trouble carrying your toys around because they were too heavy. But now that you're older, you can carry around your toys no problem. Sure, you get weird looks because you're an adult carrying around baby toys, but at least it doesn't tire you out. Well, that's basically the same thing as Goku, as he's now way stronger than he was when the show started. Wouldn't it be crazy if that wasn't the case? Imagine if Goku started out as powerful as we know him now, but we got to see him use those powers as a feral little kid. Fortunately, that's not the case, and over the course of the entire franchise, we've gotten to witness Goku slowly grow more and more powerful. Now, whenever Goku is faced against a baddie, he can just go Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Dragon, Super Saiyan Thanos, etc., etc. Okay, some of those might be made up, but say that the Dragon Ball franchise runs forever. Years from now, Goku's only going to grow more powerful to combat new threats, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go Super Saiyan Thanos at some point. It's not just Goku's innards that have changed, but also everything around him. Goku's entire life is way different than it was when we first met him. Just think back a second to when Goku was little. He was a strong orphan living alone in the mountains. Not a soul to keep him company ever since his grandfather passed away. And by passed away, I obviously mean his life was ended accidentally by Goku when he went on a rampage after turning into a Great Ape. It was an honest mistake. But since that accident, Goku was by himself until Bulma crashed into his life. This was the beginning of Goku's crazy journey, and ever since, his social circle has grown to insane levels. He's not only a grandpa, but he has a ton of friends across the universe. Like, even villains he once fought like Piccolo and Vegeta are now good friends, which is just crazy to think about after watching those early episodes. It goes to show just how important friends are in your life. Who knows what would have happened if Goku stayed in that forest by himself for his whole life? It would have been a way less interesting show, that's for sure. Living in the forest and only knowing your grandpa, it's a given that there are some things Goku wasn't aware of when the series first started. And one of the big ones was he didn't know what a woman was. I mean, that's sort of fair. Grandpa Gohan didn't seem to be in a place to tell Goku the difference, and it's not like Goku had any sort of television or magazines to really help him out. He just assumed the parts he had were the parts that everyone had. Boy, was he in for a massive surprise. When he first met Bulma, the ever-observant Goku realized that she looked different than him, and this put Goku on a wonderful journey of discovery. Well, wonderful for him, but in reality, it's pretty messed up. For a while, Goku had to feel up women in order to identify their gender, which is a huge problem. You can't do that, Goku. But now, things have definitely changed. Not only has he had kids, which implies he definitely knows the difference between men and women, but I'm pretty sure when he looks at someone, he can tell their gender. Then again, Goku is an idiot sometimes, so maybe not. A big lesson for everyone is learning to control your own strength. And that doesn't just apply to little Saiyan children. We all have to be careful when we're young as we figure out what amount of force is necessary for certain situations. I can't tell you how many times I'd be playing with a balloon when I was younger, only to have it pop in my face, resulting in a very unhappy child. That's because I didn't know how to control the force of which I squeezed. Goku went through something similar, but obviously where normal kids deal with things like balloons, Goku dealt with broken bones and human lives. Whenever he fought as a kid, he didn't know how to hold back his hits, usually causing a lot of damage to people who probably didn't deserve that much punishment. But as he's gotten older, it's clear that Goku has learned to control his strength levels whenever he fights. He knows when to go all out, but he also knows that not every enemy requires 100% of his strength. So don't be afraid if you ever have to fight Goku, because sure, he'll win, but he'll probably go easy on you. Remember back in the good old days of Dragon Ball when Goku turning into a giant ape was the most terrifying thing the little kid could do and we thought it was the most powerful thing ever? Oh, how naive we all were. It was a simpler time. But thanks to Goku's extreme training and just general maturity, his body has been able to develop even stronger attacks that make the Great Ape rampaging look like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. If he really wanted to, Goku could deliver any number of extreme attacks that make his younger self look weak. Just to name a few, look at something like the deadly Spirit Bomb, which has practically limitless potential based on how strong the user is. Or something like Goku's Ultra Instinct transformation, which Goku was able to achieve after surviving the Spirit Bomb explosion. Of course, all of his big attacks now usually come with some nasty side effect because we can't have Goku be all powerful all the time. Like the Spirit Bomb takes a lot of time to charge up, while the Ultra Instinct transformation puts a serious strain on the body. But again, it sure beats his early monkey attack or even the Kamehameha. And here, folks, we have perhaps the saddest change Goku has gone through since the first episode. His beloved and revered tail is gone. That's right, in the early episodes, Goku's tail was one of the best things about him. It was a scene stealer in every episode. Okay, maybe I'm just being a little biased, but I think tails are awesome. Just think about all the things you could do with a tail. Say you're walking back from the fridge, arms full of delicious snacks, but the TV remote is just out of reach. How horrible! But with a tail, your problems are solved as you easily can snatch things just out of reach. But kidding aside, Goku's tail is actually a good representation of his changes. The tail wasn't just for show, as it's revealed that young Saiyans turn into rampaging Great Apes when they see the full moon. And this, of course, is what caused Grandpa Gohan's demise. Now that he's older, Goku won't go into rampage mode anymore and hurt those he cares about. Although it was Kami who removed Goku's tail, it's actually a great way to symbolize just how much he's grown over the course of the series. There comes a time in all of our lives where we outgrow the things we love. Sometimes our most prized possessions just aren't needed anymore. Like growing up, I had that book that showed you what animals made certain noises. It was very informative and highbrow literature. But of course, after years and years and years, I finally could understand and distinguish different animal noises. I no longer needed a book to tell me that the cow goes moo. A very similar thing happened to Goku while he was a kid. When he was younger, Goku had two powerful items, the Power Pole and the Flying Nimbus. Both of these were extremely useful to Goku. The Power Pole was a powerful weapon, and the Flying Nimbus allowed him to fly around wherever he wanted to. But of course, they weren't meant to last. Soon, Goku developed a whole slew of new powers and techniques that turned his Power Pole into a glorified stick. And then once he learned to fly, the Flying Nimbus became incredibly obsolete. Now let's bow our heads and say a silent memoriam to these two great items that got Goku through some of his most difficult encounters and adventures. Rest in peace. At the end of the day, Goku is an idiot. But he's such a lovable and genuine idiot that you can't help but root for him. And honestly, I think his intelligence gets a bad rap sometimes. Sometimes when Goku makes an idiotic mistake, it's not because he's stupid per se, but rather it's because it was the behavior that was ingrained in him ever since he was a little kid in that first episode. Take his whole thing about nudity, for example. One of the biggest lessons Goku has had to learn is modesty. He was more than willing to walk around in his birthday suit without a second thought. This often led to some hilarious and awkward situations. Mostly, this stemmed from the social cues he learned as a kid. Living by himself in the forest, of course he didn't think there was anything wrong with being naked. Why would there be? So when he grew up and started interacting with more and more people, he didn't think there was anything wrong with flashing everybody. Goku didn't understand why people were so uncomfortable, but over time, Goku learned that just because he doesn't mind being naked doesn't mean everyone else wants to see that either. Goku has certainly been through a lot during the course of the Dragon Ball franchise. What other ways do you think he's changed over time? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for more awesome Dragon Ball content. Thanks for watching CBR. See you next time!